When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With twinspires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with twinspires. And now you can race to victory with twinspires tournaments.
Welcome back to the twinspires Racing Roundtable. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Vance Hansen. Today we're going to look back on Pegasus World Cup Day at Gulfstream Park, plus we'll talk the Grade 3 Southwest, where Speed King had a big upset win. And as always, what else caught our eye from the weekend? Before we start, though, I wanted to mention that we are going to have Kentucky Derby tickets on sale, Kentucky Derby week tickets on sale on January 30th. So about less than 48 hours, you can go buy your Derby week tickets. Head to KentuckyDerby.com to get those secured. And let's move over now to Pegasus World Cup Day at Gulfstream Park. James, I will start with you. Tell me what your takeaways were from Pegasus World Cup Day.
Well, I'll start right at the top with White Barrio, who certainly looks back in top form, or certainly looked back in top form, recording a spectacular 6+ length victory in the Pegasus World Cup. And he just crushed them, took over readily at the top of the stretch and drew off really nicely. And got a 104 Brisnet speed rating, which was very encouraging as well. And obviously, White Barrio's been based, over the winters at Gulfstream. It's his home track, but he carried his form outside of Gulfstream and winning the Whitney at Saratoga and the Breeders' Cup Classic at Santa Anita 2023. And based on that performance, he's a very exciting presence in the older dirt male division that nobody was talking about just a week ago. And I also mentioned from the Pegasus World Day, Tyler Gaffleone. He performed at a high level, winning three of the 8 stakes on the programs, and he also recorded 3 placings. His first win came aboard Coppola, who the key to his success was getting out of the gate quickly. And Gaffleone guided him to a clear lead, and from there it was procession, a real comfortable wire-to-wire win. I thought he gave a real well-timed ride to Forever After All, who paid nearly $14, getting up by a nose in the Grade 3 La Previante. And then in the Pegasus World Cup Turf, the Grade 1 Pegasus World Cup Turf, Spirit of St. Louis was overlooked at almost 9-1 in that race. And Gaffleone just once again delivered a perfectly timed ride to get up in the final strides and deny integration by a neck. And that the irony wasn't lost upon me that last year, he was on integration, who finished 5th as the favorite and really had a troubled trip, and everybody held Gaffleone responsible. So really got a chance to rebound from last year in a spectacular way. One other point with Gaff, in the Pegasus World Cup, Skippy Longstocking almost got second. I thought that was a terrific ride as well. Barely got beat in the final strides by Locke. But once again, he put that horse in the position to give his absolute best effort.
Barely beaten the inside information, too, aboard Emery. Very good day for Tyler Gaffleone. Vance, what were your takeaways?
Well, going into the World Cup, I kind of feared that White Barrio had peaked in 2023 when he won the Whitney and Breeders' Cup Classic, as James noted, but that was proven completely unfounded. I mean, he just turned in a tour de force victory in the World Cup. His connections are kind of pondering the Saudi Cup now. I don't know if he's got an official invitation yet, but, his connections might prefer to forego it this time, given the disappointing performance he put in that race last year. I know $20 million is tough to turn down, but, this horse's year-end goal is going to be to get a second victory in the Breeders' Cup Classic. And he's already gotten a jump on Sierra Leone and Fierceness for Horse of the Year honors this year. So, you want to get to the Breeders' Cup in the best shape possible. So we'll see what direction they take with White Barrio in the next month or so. I'll briefly mention the runner-up Locked. He simply isn't as good as White Barrio at this stage of his career, but he's still lightly raced, and he still has a great deal of upside, I think. Deserving of another opportunity at 9 furlongs or longer, I believe. He does have capable one-turn ability as he showed in the Cigar Mile, so he can always fall back on that in case the longer two-turn experiments don't pan out. So I'm still encouraged by Locke going forward this season. The remainder of the World Cup field is pretty fairly well exposed at this point. I don't see them rising in this division very much. I'll also briefly mention Spirit of St. Louis, as James said, in the Pegasus World Cup turf. Um, I have to admit I gave him some short shrift going into that race, but Chad Brown proved again why he's won so many Eclipse Awards as champion trainer. This horse has kind of spent the vast majority of his career facing New York bred company, but what I kind of failed to give his proper due going into the race was his desire to win. He's now won 10 of 14 lifetime starts, and his prior form in open company races was more than respectable. He won the Danger's Hour Stakes at Aqueduct last year, and he also ran a pretty good race in the Coolmore Turf Mile last fall at Keeneland after a troubled trip, and he wasn't beaten by much, facing the likes of Carl Spackler and More Than Looks, both of whom were very good horses in the division last season. So I don't think we've heard the last of Spirit of St. Louis this season.
Got to give a shout out to our colleague Darren Zacali. He threw out Spirit of St. Louis in the twinspires jury, so he definitely had a good payday there with that horse. And real quickly, I wanted to mention Sappy Joseph had a huge day at Gulfstream Park. James, you already talked about Tyler Gaffalione. I wanted to mention a trainer that had a huge day. Not only did Wida Barrio get that record-setting margin of victory with that 6 1/4 length win in the Pegasus World Cup, but Saffie Joseph also got the win with the Pegasus World Cup Filly and Mare Turf with Be Your Best, and then also won the inside information with Mystic Lake. Wida Barrio specifically, Saffie Joseph was feeling very confident ahead of that race because of the way he had been working out. He had been racing at 7 furlongs in his last 2 starts, and that was after transferring back to Saffie Joseph, and then stretched back out, looked incredible in the Pegasus World Cup. It was a huge day for Saffie all around. And then Skippy Longstocking, of course, finishing third in that race. And in the Filly and Mare Turf, he also had the third place finisher who went out for the early lead in our time. And then, of course, was just overtaken at the end by Be Your Best. So congrats to Saffie Joseph. Does well at Gulfstream, so it's no shock there, but one of his best days of his career for sure.
Yeah, I will add Mystic Lake. I agree. I thought that's an eye-opening performance for her. She was coming on late last summer, and then he stretched her out to 2 turns in that cotillion, and she ran 4th. And now it looks like he's got her back on track, and she'll be aiming for just 7 furlong Grade 1 sprints the rest of the year, I would think.
The Madison, I believe, where we might see the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint winner, Sullivan Angel from Saffie Joseph's barn. Let's move over now to the Kentucky Derby prep race that we had this weekend at Oaklawn Park. It was the Grade 3 Southwest, and Speed King was the big upset winner in gate-to-wire fashion, earned 20 points on top of 5 he already has on the Kentucky Derby leaderboard. Vance, do you buy or sell Speed King as a legitimate Derby contender?
As solid as the Southwest performance was in comparison to what we've seen from the Derby preps so far, Speed King would still be a sell for me at this point. He encountered mild pressure from varying points through the first 6 furlongs, both from the Wayne Lucas barn. One was a maiden long shot winner. The other was just coming off of a maiden win. So he wasn't really challenged by what most observers thought were the better horses in the field who are lagged far behind the pack. And the one who really could have given him a big challenge was the runner-up Sandman, but Sandman threw away his chance at the start, breaking poorly and had a lot of ground to make up. And you'll see as we get to the stretch run of this replay that he did make up an incredible amount of ground and ran a really good race. And he was very gallant in his defeat to Speed King, only losing by a length or so. So Sandman is one horse to watch coming out of this race, I think. With all that said, I think Speed King is a likable, progressive colt. I'm just a little wary that a horse with his running style is going to cherish an extra 3/16 of a mile in the Derby while facing some more formidable competition, both in terms of depth and as far as running style. So, but I would say the biggest takeaway for me from this Southwest is that Cole Battle, who won the Springboard Mile and the Smarty Jones, earlier in the Road to the Derby Prep Series. He continues to be flattered by the form of the horses he's beaten all over the country. He said, of course, Speed King. He said Kale's Angel come back and win a stakes race at Oaklawn, and the runner-up in the Smarty Jones is going to be competing in the Withers Stakes at Aqueduct and is the probable favorite this weekend. So Coal Battle has certainly been flattered in the last couple of weeks.
James?
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, sorry, Ashley.
I was just going to ask if you agree.
Yeah, I agree with I'll echo some of Vance's points for sure. You know, he's more of a sell for me right now. He's definitely in the Kentucky Derby picture though. He's won 2 or 3 stars for Ron Moquette and has something going for him, no doubt about it. Speed King does, but he is by Volatile, was a sprinter, and his dam side is. Really, I mean, his dam never ran past a mile to 16, never won past a mile. And if you look at even further down in that female family, a lot of sprint to middle distance, type breeding in Speed King's female family. You know, he ran his second quarter mile faster than the first. So I give him credit, once again, for that performance. But Vance touched on it. I thought he was extremely fortunate that Sandman blew the start. If I want to, I think Speed King may prove better suited for the Pat Day mile at a 1-turn mile on the Kentucky Derby undercard. And if there's a horse from the Southwest that I want for the Kentucky Derby, it's Sandman. And now this is a colt that broke his maiden second time out at Saratoga last year, Sandman, son of Tappet. But he was far from a finished product as a 2-year-old. Making no impact in his first 2 stakes attempts, finishing 5th and 3rd. And I thought he turned a corner, winning an allowance in mid-December at Oaklawn Park. He continued to move forward in the Southwest. Now, his Brisnet speed ratings remain a little light, but Sandman is just starting to come on for Mark Casse, and I could definitely envision a horse like him, making big strides in the weeks to come. So a lot to like about his potential, I thought, exiting the race.
I'm with you, James. I think we're all in agreement here on probably selling Speed King going 1.25 miles, but also Sandman was my top pick in this race. And of course, that break out of the gate was just really cost him. The rally, though, was impressive enough to make me feel confident going forward, and I do think we'll see even better as a 3-year-old. So he's certainly one I'm circling from this race. Also have to mention Gaming, Patch Adams. Neither of these horses were really in the mix. I mean, not speaking, but we had Patch Adams, who I believe did he end up in 3rd in this race? But
Fourth.
Gaming was along the rail and just seemed to have a lot of trouble with that trip. So these are 2 horses that, everyone was talking about in pool 3, and then especially Gaming be for Bob Baffert. Neither of them having a good race. Are you all concerned at all with what you saw from either of those horses in this race?
I did see some post-race quotes from Baffert saying he doesn't think Gaming is a very good horse racing along the inside. He says if he draws the one hole again, he's going to scratch him. So I can't say the post position itself was entirely to blame for his performance. That's just 2 subpar efforts in a row after he ran very well in the Del Mar Futurity and the Breeders' Cup last year. So I don't know what's going on with Gaming at the moment. Patch Adams just didn't show up based off of his first couple of starts at Churchill. I think he obviously deserves another chance. I'd probably give him more of the benefit of the doubt at this point than Gaming.
I will say, I'll echo that. Gaming, I don't think is going to be anywhere near 1.25 mile horse come early May. I think he's a talented type, but he's going to be more cut out for these big grade 1 races for 3-year-olds this summer, in my opinion. Patch Adams, I will say this about Patch Adams. He had a brilliant work in his next to last work where he outworked Hitshow, who came back and won the Grade 3 Louisiana. And then his last work before the Southwest was definitely duller. He wasn't as sharp. So maybe there was something going on with him and he deserves another opportunity, but he was really flat. And the fact that he got up to second and upper stretch and wound up weakening and finishing fourth, just a very disappointing effort in his two-turn debut.
Well, let's move over to what else caught our eye from the weekend. James, what was that for you?
Barrio was the only horse to make a mark in the older male dirt division. Rattle and Roll, who captured the November 29th Grade 2 Clark at Churchill Downs in his second start, back from a year-long layoff, continued to advance with an eye-catching triumph in the custodian of the Two Holy Mosque Cup at King Abdulaziz race course in Saudi Arabia. This about mile and an eighth prep was a win in your in over the same course and distance for the $20 million Saudi Cup on February 22nd. And I was watching that race and Rattle and Roll, just the turn of foot he displayed in the stretch, just the blow past rivals and win going away by about 5 lengths. I thought it was impressive. He's really coming along for Kenny McPeak. I mean, if you got a top 5 for the 2025 Breeders' Cup Classic, you had 2 horses run last Saturday in Barrio and Rattle and Roll that at least deserve consideration because they're really coming on, it seems, right now. I'll also mention Rapture. He looks poised to try a Kentucky Derby qualifier off of a 6.5 length maiden victory at Oaklawn on Saturday. We'll see it right there. He's just taking the lead right now. He draws off. This is his second start. He debuted over a 1-turn mile in December at Gulfstream, ran a good second to Vassimo, who came back and won a 2-turn allowance last week at Tampa, and it's a promising sort for Todd Pletcher. And Rapture just really moved forward off that experience, relished the additional ground, the 2-turn distance. And Flavian Pratt went to Oaklawn Park on Saturday to ride Patch Adams, but he may still come away with a live Kentucky Derby contender in Rapture. That was a really good looking performance. He's one to watch for Brad Cox. And I'll mention real quick at Santa Anita on Saturday, they had a 6.5 furlong maiden race. San Saba, who was coming off of a third in his debut to Madaket Road, who's in Saturday's Robert B. Lewis. He won that race pretty comfortably by about 1.5 lengths at second asking. He was in pool 3 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager last week. He's by Justify. He was one of 9 Baffert trainees in there. And the horse that was third to him, Varney, was also in pool 3. He was an unraced 2-year-old. He ran third. We'll see if he can keep advancing off of his first start. So I thought I'd mention definitely Rapture and San Saba. Those are a couple horses to watch off of their maiden wins Saturday.
Vance, what stood out to you?
I'll bring up the Wine Stewards winning return to the races Saturday in the 5th season at Oaklawn Park. This horse has been based at Gulfstream this winter with Mike Maker, but their older horse opportunities are somewhat limited. So he shipped him to Oaklawn for the 5th season, and as you can see here, putting in a very solid effort to win by about a neck. This was his first start since running up the track in the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga last June. Which was easily the worst effort of his career. If you toss the Belmont out, this son of Vino Rosso has 4 wins and 3 seconds from 7 career starts, and all 3 of those losses were by less than a length. He lost the Breeders' Futurity to Locked as a 2-year-old, and then last year before the Belmont, he narrowly missed winning the Lexington Stakes at Keeneland and the Peter Pan at Aqueduct. So this was a good start to his 4-year-old campaign. I don't necessarily think the Wine Steward is going to develop into a top-tier older horse, but he's definitely a horse to keep an eye on for the remainder of the Oaklawn meet. They've got about 3 other older horse races left in the meet. I think you have the Essex, the Razorback Handicap, and then, of course, the Oaklawn Handicap in April. And there are certainly going to be a number of lucrative races in Kentucky the rest of the year for him to attempt to pick off. So this is an interesting horse to follow going forward, I think, in Grade 2, Grade 3 company. And who knows, maybe he'll improve enough to warrant a chance in a Grade 1.
Yeah, Vino Rosso was my first crop sire a couple of years ago. My first crop sire this past time did not do so well. 1,000 words. I don't remember how y'all's did. None of us had complexity, right? Because that would have given us a
I,
lot of work.
I've got authentic. He's got Rodriguez and the
Oh,
Lewis.
yeah.
He might have a nice horse.
I had Game Winner last year, and so far Gaming is the only horse worth mentioning so far. So
Yeah. You can't get them all every year, but we'll see what we get this time. I will close out by talking about our Kentucky Oaks prep race. We had the Martha Washington and Kenny McPeak had two in this field, the winner, and we also had the fourth place finisher. The winner was Take Charge Milady, who's really come on as a 3-year-old, now 2 for 2 this season. She, on debut, raced at a mile at Ellis Park and came home a 6.5 length sixth and went on a long break and finished second in December in her second career start, coming off about a 6-month layoff. But then she turned around in January, got a win with a 104 late pace rating heading into this start, and then was able to draw off for a pretty dominant win as well. And the Martha Washington earned 20 points, now second on the Oaks leaderboard. And then Go Bell's Delight also on the leaderboard with 4 points. Take Charge Milady also, her sire is Take Charge Indy, of course, whose dam is Take Charge Lady, which Kenny McPeak has compared to Take Charge My Lady. So certainly good company to be in there. And looks like a filly we should keep an eye on for the Kentucky Oaks now, looking very good as a sophomore.
Kenny McPeak became the first trainer since Ben Jones back in the 40s to sweep the Oaks and Derby last year with Torpedo Anna and Mystic Dan. And in the last 2 weeks, he's had 2 3-year-olds really turn in splashing performances. Hypnus broke his maiden. He's headed either the Rebel or the Risen Star, and Take Charge My Lady. So he's got a couple of promising candidates looking for a repeat in those races this spring.
It'll be exciting to see. Well, that's all the time we have today for the Racing Roundtable. Again, those Derby Week tickets go on sale on January 30th in less than 48 hours. So head to KentuckyDerby.com, and we will be back next Tuesday to talk more racing recaps on the TwinSpires Racing Roundtable.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.